Welcome to American Black Journal. I'm Stephen Henderson. We're coming to you today from the Detroit Historical Museum. There's a new exhibit here at the museum that documents the history of the first black-owned and operated television station in the country. WGPR-TV 62 went on the air in Detroit in 1975. The station was the vision of broadcast pioneer Dr. William Banks, who wanted to provide opportunities for diverse faces and voices to appear on the television. WGPR gave African Americans valuable training and experience in the television industry, both on camera and behind the scenes. The station proved to be a springboard for many careers. Today, former WGPR employees are working in television and journalism here and all across the country. My next guest got their start at WGPR. Shaun Robinson is a TV host, producer, and author, and Hudson Samuels is the executive director of the WGPR Historical Society. Welcome, both of you.
Thank you very much. Wonderful to be back in the D.
Yeah, I was going to say, so talk about the start that you got, Shaun, at WGPR and where it's led you to.
Well, it's led me to feel real old since, I've got an exhibit at a museum. There's nothing that makes you feel old than that. Yes, I'm born and raised here in Detroit. My family is still here, and always knew I wanted to go into television. One of my first role models, if you remember Beverly Payne.
Yes.
Yeah. I used to sit in front of the
Channel
TV.
2,
right.
WJBK.
And she was like, I think the first African-American female anchor on TV. And I used to, after I watched my cartoons, after I watched, Kimba the White Lion and the Munsters and the Jetsons and the Flintstones and all that, my grandmother would have the TV on and I would sit and watch her. And just there was something about her. And I think that was one of my first role models. And always wanted to get into the television business. Yeah. And so when I went away to school at Spelman College in Atlanta, came back after my junior year and applied for an internship at WGPR. And so I worked there during the summer, then went back to school, and then after I graduated, got a job. Well, I worked as a matter of fact, they didn't hire me first. They wanted me to come back as an intern.
As an intern
so
again,
working for
right?
free, okay, and then as a reporter and anchor, and then finally put me on the payroll and was there for several years. And it really gave me the foundation that I needed to go on to the other stations. I ended up being at several different stations throughout my career, but WGPR was the foundation and gave me that experience that I needed.
Yeah. Karen, how about you?
Well, let me first, I want to leverage off of what Shaun has just said, because the exhibit, which is running right now, people can come on down.
Museum, sure.
It'll be up through April 3rd. Shaun is featured in one of the exhibit themes called National Success Stories.
And they got a crazy picture of me up there too.
And it's beautiful.
They have one really great
picture.
Yes, of me like on the red carpet. Then they have one for me actually anchoring there.
See, those are hard to look
I know,
at,
like
right?
the hair.
The hair is
so
always
just
the
excuse
thing.
that.
It's before the
It's a throwback. It's just a throwback.
It's a throwback moment. So obviously these national success stories are a result of, as Shaun said, getting that foot in the door. As you know, when you're coming out of school, what do you want to find? That first job, and you need experience. And that's when GPR opened the doors to so many different people, including myself. Like Shaun, I started as an intern. And at the end of the summer, they hired me as an employee, and I stayed for 6 years, and I left as news director. And from that experience, I learned so much that applied to many other fields that I became involved with. So it's a great story of broadcasting. It's a great Detroit story. We're glad we're here at the museum, the Detroit Historical Museum. I say, remember, this is Detroit history at this museum. And so it's going to be a wonderful, you bring your kids, bring people who are studying broadcasting history, they're going to really learn a lot.
Yeah, and I didn't realize when I was working at GPR that we were a part of history. Being the first African-American owned television station in the country. And also, I just found this out, that we were the first 24-hour station.
First 24.
TV used to go off on most stations at like 2 o'clock.
National Anthem and then Snow. But not GPR. We were on 24 hours.
And it's one of the criteria that earned us meaning the station, a Michigan Historical Marker, which went up back in January 18th. It's there forever, but it was one of the criteria. So 24 hours on the air. We also had a variety of programming, including 5 different ethnic programs.
That is so interesting.
People don't know
Yes.
that,
Yeah.
and so it's a really interesting story. People think about the scene.
Yes.
You
The
start
scene,
there.
Yes.
Did you see the
The
scene?
So I have to say,
wait,
I
okay,
was.
somebody here
Okay,
was
so I
dancing
grew
on
up.
the scene.
I
you
grew
know.
up in the 1970s
Yes.
and 1980s in Detroit,
Right.
downtown.
Yes.
WGPR was just across Jefferson
Right.
from where I lived, and some high school friends and I decided when we were sophomores we were going to get onto the scene. So we
Really? Okay.
went over there.
What did you wear?
Oh,
I'm
all
sure.
important.
Actually, I wore a sport coat and a shirt, and I had a scarf on, so that I was very stylish back in the day.
They
We are
had-
waiting for the videos.
I know.
Anytime.
Yeah, right.
I
Pull up that
don't,
video
I don't
somewhere.
think I want to see the
I
video
was
of
on the
this.
scene one time. Do you remember Fast Freddy? He
Oh,
was on the
Fast
scene?
Freddy, yeah,
Oh my God.
sure, sure.
Well, yeah, we had high school day on the scene, and I went to Cass Tech. Ooh, Cass.
Yes.
And so we had high school day on the scene, and I wore a white dress with a big old white flower in my hair, and you could not tell me nothing.
But see, that was fun. What I remember about it was a chance to be on TV.
Sure.
And it seemed accessible. It seemed like a
Right.
place that could happen when I was a 15-year-old who had no TV experience, but also could not dance. Right? That wasn't a criteria. But I wanted to go do that, and so it was there. And that's sort of part of that GPR story.
Yes.
It was more just it seemed there like it was more like a family than a workplace.
Yeah, definitely. But also, we were able to talk about the issues that were important to the African American community, the stories that you would not see on other newscasts. And I remember we created, I also hosted a talk show there, Strictly Speaking.
Right.
And I remember calling the mayor's office, Coleman Young's office, and trying to get him on as a guest. They told me no, I don't know how many times. And then finally, he came
He said
on
he
the
did.
show, and that was a really, really big deal for us.
Yeah. Talk more about the exhibit here at the Historical Museum. What are the things in it? What will people learn from coming to see it?
I think what they'll learn, first of all, are who are the people who made it all happen, starting with the station founder and the founding pioneers, Dr. William Banks. They'll learn how he was able to, through a Republican president, get a broadcast license. You'll learn about the original programming. You'll learn about WGPR Radio, which also operated in the same space as the TV station. We have a segment called Behind the Scenes. People see folks on the air and figure, well, something magic happens in the background. And I tell people, for every person you see on the air, there are probably 10 people behind the scenes.
Right.
So they take them through that. Who's behind the scenes? We talked about the original programming. Well, what did that look like? And then we have a historic timeline. What was going on? Milestones within GPR's history, what was going on nationally among African Americans in broadcasting and entertainment and so forth. So I think we want them to take away an appreciation and understanding of an important story and history.
Right. And Stephen, you know, as Karen said, this was a station that gave so many African Americans opportunities that they didn't otherwise have. You know, I remember just trying to find a job here in Detroit at some of the other stations, the larger stations, and could not get a job. And so then I was at when I was at GPR, that really gave me my foundation. It taught me, you know, how to edit. Not only it taught me how to be an anchor, but how to be a reporter. It taught me how to edit. It taught me how to produce. It gave me so many skills that I took throughout my career with me.
We see lots more black faces on television today than we did then, and WGPR is gone, sort of off the air. What role does black media, though, now play? Do you think that's different now than it was when GPR was starting and was on the air?
You know, in some ways, GPR was a forerunner. I think what you see is that being emulated more because there's access to many more opportunities through cable, networks, social media, online news services, The Root, I could name some. And so, but
it's a lot easier to sort of get something started now and have lots of people see it.
A lot easier to get started, but it's having that perspective and point of view for your audience, as Shaun mentioned, which was one of the characteristics that was very important to the founder, Dr. Banks, that as the issues were coming through the day, the community, African American, ethnic minority community voices needed to be heard and understood. And so I think it's similar, it's just grown tremendously.
Right.
Yeah.
And it's so interesting. I think there's a very timely discussion, especially about diversity in Hollywood that I cover
sure.
all the time. And one of the issues is Hollywood doesn't make stories about everybody.
About our experience, sure.
They have this kind of repetitive mindset. Well, okay, this has been working, so let's keep doing this. And so when I think about the correlation between that and WGPR and the fact that we told the stories that were important to our community.
Yeah, yeah. When you think about Detroit now, without WGPR, how different does the city seem without that voice? We still have, obviously, African American media in town, but that one seemed, when I was a kid, to sort of stand out from everyone
It spoke
else.
to you directly, Stephen. That's part of what it was.
Right.
It did. And I think that still happens. One of the things when we exhibit concludes and we're going to create a permanent museum at the studios on East Jefferson.
You've been working on that for a while, right?
And
Yeah.
so that would be an opportunity. Also, we might try to open up the door again for young people to come in and get that, well, I have a passion, I have skills, they need to be applied and honed and mentored, and that's where those opportunities come in.
Shaun, what do you tell young people when they ask you, how do I get started? How do I become Shaun Robinson? I mean, it's a very different path now than it was
Yeah,
then.
it's very different today. And what's interesting is I tell a lot of young people that you have so many more opportunities to kind of make your way to where you ultimately want to be. Number one, online. We didn't have, there was no YouTube back then, no nothing, no internet, no anything. So I tell them to start using your voice in ways that we didn't have the opportunity to use before. So do a YouTube show. Okay, do a YouTube show. A lot of news directors and executive producers are looking at talent online.
See that.
But I also tell them the thing that's going to set you apart in this business as in any business is perseverance. No, believing. I just had a reporter today say to me, Shaun, I want to be an entertainment reporter, but it's going to be hard, isn't it? Look, honey, life is hard,
Right, it's
okay?
hard.
Life is hard. So if you're going to come with that mindset, you're not going to make it. So have a goal, stick with it, work hard, and use your creativity in many different ways.
Yeah, and understand that perseverance will pay off. That's
Yes,
the hard,
it will.
That's
It
the
will.
hard part.
Because there are a lot of folks in Hollywood that ain't got much talent.
Right,
But
they stay after it.
They stay and they keep going. Trust me, I interview a lot of them,
Yeah.
but they keep at it. They keep at it,
Yeah.
and there's something about them that people like. So the perseverance, hard work, just keeping at it, never getting discouraged. Because as you know, folks will try to tear you down and tell you can't
They will
achieve
tell
your
you
dreams.
no.
They will tell you no all the time. All you need is one yes. That's
Okay.
it.
All right, Shaun. Karen, thank you for being here.
Okay,
Thank you,
and I want to
Stephen.
see the outfit, that
we're not
scarf
looking-
you
we're
wore,
not looking for
Augustine,
this.
because I know
Yeah.
you were getting
We're calling
down.
your
I'm
mother.
The funky chicken and all that,
I hope
man.
that footage is buried somewhere that no one can find it.